Hi, friends. It's Evelyn, Andrew's wife. I know it's been a while since I've been active on here. The last 2 months, my attention has been focused elsewhere, to say the least. We had Andrew's memorial in May. I had to go home to be with family for different reasons, and I've truly been just trying to take some time to care for my spirit. So thank you for your patience. But I do want you to know that we will be sharing Andrew's final footage soon. Today, however, I actually want to take a moment to talk about something really important that's happening quietly in Congress right now. I am not a political person. Andrew is not a political person, but this is really important. And I know if he were here, he would use this platform to share about this too. So bear with me. I do have a little script because I am not as good at speaking off cuff as Andrew. So currently, there's a plan in the works to sell off over 1 million acres of public land. I know that so many of you watch this channel because you care about wild places, just like Andrew and I do. And so I want to make sure that you hear about this because I know this is something that Andrew would have taken the time to do too. So this is part of a big Republican bill that's led by Senator Mike Lee from Utah. It would let the government sell off public lands managed by the Bureau of Land Management, or BLM, and these are areas near small towns all over the West. Now, he's saying that it's just a small percentage. However, we're talking about over 1 million acres of land, and this land belongs to all of us. This is our public land. So these are lands where people hike, camp, hunt, fish, or just go to feel small under a big landscape. And as we all know, these lands are more than just our playgrounds. They hold the history of all of the people that came before us that Andrew had such a passion for learning about and sharing about. So they're really important. For me, this issue hits particularly close to home, and it's kind of felt like its own layer of heartbreak in all of this. Andrew really built his life around exploring these landscapes. The wide open desert, it just gave him this sense of peace and purpose. For those who don't know this about Andrew's story, about 6 or 7 years ago, he was living in Virginia. He was pretty burnt out and struggling, and he just got in his car and he drove west and ended up staying west for 4 months. He just was on the road and exploring these public lands, and it was these public lands that actually healed his spirit and gave it life again. And so it became really important to him to share how special those places are with others and how we can respect them and honor them. And these aren't just empty places, they're full of meaning for all of us, for families, for wildlife, for local communities that depend on outdoor recreation. And once they're sold off, they are gone. And we lose a piece of what makes the West and the United States as a whole so special. So what can we do about it? It's actually pretty simple, I found. So the simple answer is to call our senators, ideally before July 4th, because this is currently the loose deadline for when the one big, beautiful mega bill is hoping to be passed. And you want to call your senators and tell them to oppose any part of this bill that would sell off public lands. You can also write or email them. I'm going to drop a list below in the video description with the numbers of senators across the West, as well as the emails to contact. And I might even put like a little template that people can use to get themselves started with what to say on voicemail or email. So the key here, though, is to share your story. The more personal this is, the better. The more that you can tell these people why these public lands mean something to you individually, the more meaning it's going to have. So, okay, thanks for bearing with me. Last little bit. So I know when people speak about something like this, it can kind of lead you to wonder, how could my one voice actually make a difference? And I get it. I feel the same. So I looked into that. And from what I've found, every call, here's a couple of reasons why it matters. So every call and email received is logged. So congressional offices actually keep tallies of calls and emails by topic. So public lands, immigration, education, etc. And when they see a spike, even just 10 to 20 calls on a specific issue in a day, they take notice. It also helps then to shape the senators' priorities. So most senators aren't experts on every issue. How could they be? And for a bill this big, it's literally 940 pages long. This is likely very relevant in this case. So when enough constituents speak up, it can actually move an issue higher up on the senator's radar, and it can even change their position entirely. Lastly, it tells them that voters are watching. So a senator might support a controversial measure quietly until they realize that voters are paying attention to what they decide and could hold them accountable. So offices, in summary, they prioritize constituent input over mass forms of letters or social media noise. So again, include your state zip code, where you're from, who you are, your personal story of why this is important to you. And while one call or email won't change a vote, hundreds across the state, that actually can. So in closing, these lands mean a lot to me. They meant a lot to Andrew. Even just last weekend, I celebrated what would have been my wedding anniversary with Andrew, our 4th year, and I got out into the mountains, and I was both so sad that I won't get to make any more memories with him in those places, but I also had this really sweet sense of gratitude for having those memories at all, and that I can go back to those places and feel so connected to him and his spirit and the things he loved. So in light of that, these places are even more meaningful to me right now and even more worth protecting. So I want to be able to continue to explore them in his honor. And I know without a doubt that he would want them to be here for the next generation of drifters, dreamers, and desert lovers. So thank you for listening to my monologue. Thank you for being here. And thank you for standing up for these special places. You guys are truly wonderful people. And I am so grateful to have you in our corner.